Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Market Trade Group, and it is Tuesday, August 31st, last trading day of the month. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through here is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Everything that we're going over is for education purposes only. If the video is a little bit blurry, it's just because YouTube takes a while to render the high definition version of the video, and I send it out right away. So just give it a little bit more time. So yes, for the market cap recap. Performance first for the day. S&P just down slightly for the day, down a little bit more than 0.1%. Q's about the same, just down slightly for the session. What I have in my spreadsheet says down 8 basis points. Small caps outperformed a touch, but really just a touch, up 17 basis points. And then IWC microcaps led today. They were up 74 basis points, so almost up 1% for the day. Yields went higher a little bit. TLT was down for the day. Also, the VIX was up a little bit today. I think just a choppy day. This is kind of what I had for the midday video. For members, and kind of gave a summary of open positions and so forth. But yeah, I would say this is typically kind of what we see. Actually, not that bad, I would say, in terms of performance or price action on the last trading day of the month. It's kind of for lack of a better word, it's just kind of weird. There will be some, funds that just shift things around the last trading day of the month, and then sometimes on tomorrow, the first day of the month, you see new money being put to work. So it's just a weird, mechanism that goes on in the market where mutual funds have to do some changing of their portfolio around. I don't know if window dressing really still exists. But there's that kind of thing where they want to make sure that they own things at the end of the month, and it's weird. I don't really have a good explanation for it other than the word I just used, which is weird. So overall, like I usually I share how I do, obviously, and I don't like these last trading days of the month. Maybe it's because I know I'm reporting P&L at the end of them, and it just seems like I've been in a couple of positions that you're trading something and then it'll just start dropping. Like for example, like one stock that I noted today is look at this, Kathy Wood. Looks like she is coming out with a new transparency ETF. So whatever ETF, I guess that's going to be. But Tesla's a good example, right? Like all of a sudden, it's just kind of going sideways, not much going on, after the initial move up, and then all of a sudden it just drops like a stone. It did find some support at the top of value for the day, right? So the top of the value area, but then it just recovers, so it's like. That's a perfect example of it's just weird price performance. So in any event, I'll get through just a couple of things that were on my radar for the day. We'll make this a shortened video. But also using that word too, or I'll use odd. Anytime I see pot stocks on the top of the leaderboard, it just kind of shows you that it's an odd day. So that option activity, we just saw a lot of things. Like it looked like, and it has seemed this way this week. It looks like there's traders out there that are looking to kind of start like short squeezes or buy squeezes, right? Because a lot of times what we saw months and months ago was not necessarily short squeezes. It was while people on message boards thought it was short squeezes, it was buy squeezes. It was a whole bunch of people buying, a bunch of short-term options and jamming, systems up and kind of just flooding systems with buy orders. So it felt like that today. Like certainly we've seen some of those cases, SPRT, BBIG, but I saw like 6 or 7 of these things today. It's funny because I quoted I was talking about Workhorse last night, just as a stock that's gotten forgotten about. Well, I mean, all of a sudden the stock jumps from 970 to 1030. It is an odd market that we are dealing with this year. Just like this BBIG. There's no news about any of these stocks. They just go up because people are trying to cause them to squeeze. Something that I just really haven't seen too much in my career of trading where people are just out there to try to get things to squeeze, and as much as possible. There's always been the short squeeze and things like that, but I've just never have seen the amount of really small cap names and small float names that are being going after. And it seems like, too, without going too far off on a tangent here in this video, but it just seems like a lot of traders are looking for immediate gratification, rather than following a process. Or it's like, hey, and this is going on in several areas of the market, but it is what it is. I can't change that. It's not really my type of market to try to think I'm going to capitalize on just short squeezes. But so anyway, we'll move on from that, because I sometimes I get sidetracked, and I do view a lot of these things like this, for me anyway, as distractions, right? Especially some of these names that just see so much option activity, you kind of if you're not participating in many of these things, it just, if you're watching the tape and so forth, it does, for me, lead to a little bit of distraction. So other things that kind of stood out to me is what's kind of going on with the Chinese internet names. So, if you're a regular viewer of my videos, or if you're a member of the Tribeca Trade Group, you know that I'm a trend trader. I stick with the trend. I don't really trade too many things underneath the 200-day moving average. I just view that some of the things that I've learned over my career, reading things like The Turtle Traders and Trend Trading, by two books by Michael Covell, also even reading a book like When Genius Failed, right? Too many traders thinking like reversion to the mean type trading. That usually is not where you make a ton of profits. If you have a lot of money, you can make some money on reversion to the mean trading. Thinking things go down too much, or thinking things go up too much. In my experience, and again, there's more than one way to make money in this market. This isn't the only way to make money in the market, but I think trend trading is the best way. You will see over and over and over, and just like with the meme stocks and that I just mentioned, things will just go up further than you would think that they go up. When I was a younger trader, and I always get younger traders who come to Tribeca Trade Group, and it's their first year or two trading. I always find traders, and it's kind of a little bit of just human nature, to see something and be like, wow, that shouldn't be up that much, right? I'm going to go and I'm going to short that name, right? And it takes a little time to figure out that that's not such a great trade. The idea of a trend trader, of course, is to be on the right side of the trade, right? And if you look back, right, and I hate to do this with with charts, but if you go back, right, and you look, I've had various times people have said this market has gone up too far too fast, but if you've been sticking with the trend, that's kind of what it looks like. So fading this all the time, which I see people trying to do left and right, it doesn't usually end well for them. Or if it does, they may be able to kind of squeak out a small gain, trying to go the other way versus the market. Now, when does this end, right? When does this trend end? Well, I could tell you right now, nobody knows the answer to that, right? The best thing that I've learned to do over my career is to basically have a point where where you're going to get out of the market. I learned that too, when I was trading institutionally back in 2007, 2008 during the credit crisis, where we saw things just go lower, and further lower. And if you didn't have a place to get yourself out of risk, you really got run over pretty hard if you were trading for yourself or for your personal account back then. So we will have I thought it was a very good conversation that was on CNBC, like their halftime show. Because again, there's always somebody who comes on and says, hey, we're going to have a correction at this point. I do think, as we wrapped up the month of August, September is not an easy month, right, in terms of seasonality, right? That would be a logical time for some type of market pullback. But it doesn't have to be, right? We don't have to get that. And Josh Brown was making a good point that there's been a lot of, and other commentators have made this point too. There's been a lot of under the hood type corrections that are going on. They just haven't had big ones in the indices so far in 2021. So, and if you've been in some of those names that have had decent corrections, single stocks, the takeaway from that is make sure that you have stop prices. One of the worst things that I could see traders do is not to have stop prices, right? So again, I don't want to go too far off tangent, but I've seen people put out videos of where they're just adding and adding and adding against the tape, and they have no stop price. So that can bail you out of some bad situations. So always what we do at Tribeca Trade Group is plan out our trades. I do try to look where I'm going to take targets in a trade. Usually I take for example 3 or 4 targets, but I always have my stop price defined. Now it's not a hard stop, but it's a soft stop, and that keeps me out of trouble when the market does have a decent dip or a correction. Sometimes I get whipsawed, right? Sometimes I get out of a trade and the next day the stock's back up. It's not the end of the world, but it does happen to me, and that's what happens when you're running a disciplined program. So why am I talking about all this stuff and a bit more generally tonight? Well, because it's the end of the month. We only have 4 more months to go. I'm going to go over performance of the indices. Do I want to talk about some names first? We could talk about a handful of names. Snap did not close on the highs. That's why I take targets. This was nice. I took a target, I think right around 77, 75 or something like that. So, yeah, 75 was my 75.97 was my stop, was my price, and then 77.80. So again, not being super greedy, just giving what this, there was a virgin point of control up here. We went a little bit further. Yeah, I managed to get very close to the high. I don't normally do that. But we'll see. What attracts me to this name, Snap, is because it had good earnings. And what I've been doing basically the last couple of weeks is just positioning around a lot of names that had good earnings, that dip a little bit or consolidate and then are pushing higher. Not all of my trades are that way, but really what I've noticed is that the names that have reported solid earnings, either gap ups or have done very well, they've just been continuing to perform. Upstart is a good example of that. I heard a lot of people were wanting to fade this stock after earnings, and I said, why? Look at the stock. It gapped up to 150, 160, and it's up to 229. All you had to do is stick with the trend, right? Use a 5-period moving average. So the more that you could simplify your trading, I know I use a complicated system called the MarketWebs, which look at volume at price. It's really good for me. It took me a little while to kind of get the hang of it, but volume at price really helps me stay a disciplined trader. But something like this, I do rely on the moving averages a lot once we're trading outside of the value area. By the way, look at how slim that value area was. And this thing has never really given a sell signal, right? And I do tell people, when they're looking to go the other way on a name, well, what's your signal other than straight up emotion, right? Or gut? I shouldn't say emotion. Or gut feeling, right? Eventually, this name may come down. I don't have a crystal ball, but right now there's no sell signal in the name, right? A sell signal would be maybe the 5-period moving average crossing below the 20. Right, or at least dipping below the 5-period moving average. But that's why I use this moving average on my charts. You could see the price has not, except for in here, has stayed above the 5-period moving average the whole time. So if you took emotion completely out and your instinct and just said, hey, I'm going to stay long this name while it's outside the 5-period moving average. And again, maybe you got caught a little bit in here. But since then, even if you put the trade back on at 201, it's just worked really well. And the simpler that you can make things and get your mind out of telling you whether or not something should go down or should not, This BILL is very interesting too. Huge move that happened after earnings and after a big move, and they were buying calls today. The October 290 calls in this thing. So kind of similar thing. I mean, it is still a little bit extended above the 5-period moving average. So I won't be surprised if this kind of sits back a little bit and fills more of this candle, but it doesn't have to. We've certainly seen a number of these names that just haven't done it. Right? Look at Team, for example. Right? Now, again, this has been tracking that 5-period moving average perfectly. Right? SE is another name that's been acting wonderfully after earnings too. Right? This is a name that I've been holding. I'm at this point, I'm letting the last portion of this swing trade just continue to go, and I'll have a little bit of a trailing stop on it. But right, let these things go where they want to go, and then of course monitor for when they don't. Right. So yeah, that's that. And again, in trading, you can't be afraid to lose the very last. If you're taking profits along the way in your trade, you can't be afraid to give back a little bit on the last portion of the trade. You have to, in my opinion, get over that. All right. What else did I do for the day? Just kind of go over a couple things. Disney was a name that I put on yesterday. Another good example of taking profits. This thing kind of stalled out a bit. I hit 2 targets in this trade. Notice that it did take out a 5-minute VPOC. Right. So, but again, it gives you a chance. Like if I still like the name, which I mentioned in the midday call, I have no problem like adding one of those targets back. Ultimately where I'm looking for Disney to get to is probably up in here, 189. So if it kind of doesn't go up there in a straight line, like that's okay. Another name that I have been watching for a while was Starbucks. Right? I know, not an exciting name, not a name that's going to double in the same day. Right? That's going to have one of these major squeezes. But from a technical standpoint, this thing, I was looking at this thing in here and it tried to turn and just kind of failed. I traded it and I made small profits on it and I didn't stay in it long because I just wasn't sure it had enough power to turn there. But certainly looks a little bit better now. This double bottom here a little bit, support right on the bottom of value, by the way, and retook the 50-day moving average too. So I did not go long this one just because at this point, I do want to manage my positions appropriately, right? We talked a little bit about this in the midday video. Is that we are getting a little bit extended here. We've had a really nice run the week and a half. So yeah, I'm going to pass on some positions. But that Starbucks looks pretty darn good. Starbucks is a position that's in the TTG Trend Portfolio along with SE as well, along with Upstart. All right. What else? I might as well go over a couple of my trades. VNQ, right? So the REITs, right? I like to have a couple slower movers on in my portfolio along with the faster movers, right? I don't like to be all in like the software group, right? Because the software group from time to time does see some profit taking. So VNQ is breaking out. I got long. I got lucky with this one. A little bit of a pullback right on the open. That's where I entered. I wanted to get this trade on. It's a place for me to park some cash. I did this last month in a trade called SPLV, which made some nice money for me. Again, and I was just looking to kind of say, hey, I'll put some money in here. And I took this thing off around 64.60. Nice place to kind of say, hey, I'm going to just have some cash in there and see if this VNQ wants to break out, right? Another example of a trade that I like to do. Month of consolidation, right? So maybe this thing pushes up to 110 or 111, and it earns, what's the dividend on this thing? By the way, this is very similar to the IYR ETF, but it has a lower management fee. So if you're used to yields about 3%. Fine. All right, EBBG was a software name. Again, I'm trying to just not be in so many software names. I think that what could happen here if the indices don't pull back. I think that we could see some rotation. Doesn't have to be. So Snap OLN. This is a name that I've been trying to get into, and I like the 2 inside days for that. DBX, this is a swing trade that I've been in for a while. Started to turn the corner here. Nice defined trend in Dropbox. Right, so I got my first target today in this. After earnings, gap up. Fell down to the bottom of value, hung out for a little bit, and is now resuming the trend. It looks like. Disney, MRVI. I like to go over the ones that don't work. I've tried this name a couple times in the last 2 weeks. I'm just going to set an alert here at 61 again. Right? I tried last week here in the 1 hour bar. Sometimes they do this. They did not close above value. Same thing at the beginning of the week. I didn't try it there, but I did think that this thing was going to go again, and just could not break 61. So I jumped out of it. If there's no signal, no problem taking it off. Again, takes a while to learn this, right? A lot of people, big egos on FinTwit. Oh, I can't sell it. That means I'm wrong. Listen, I'm wrong all the time, but I have faith in my system. But you got to get over being wrong. You're going to be wrong a lot in this game. Carvana, I took a shot at this one. Again, not the best looking chart here. There was some calls on the tape, a little bit of a call buyer. So my stop will be the low of the day. I don't like how this broke the 50-day moving average, but this is a name I like to buy on dips. If it doesn't hold, I'm out. That's it. Right, and it looks like it's going to open up below value, which I don't love. So this might be a short-lived trade, but we'll see. Hey, I also took a shot here at Plan, which worked. Where's Plan trading? 68. Notice there's a VPOC here. Right, Virgin point of control, where a lot of buyers and sellers met up previously. This is from the volume profile from back here. And also there's a VPOC up here, which I think has been taken out unofficially. People ask me about, speaking of Virgin point of controls, people ask me about Tesla. I posted a chart of Tesla. I said Tesla could get interesting if it gets over this VPOC. To be determined. Right? It's right at that level. So that would be great if we could get over it. Definitely one to watch. All right, so I mentioned I would go over performance. So first of all, my performance, and I'll send this out officially tomorrow once I get my statement from E-Trade. But trading account now for the year up 40%, might be up 41%, but we'll see. TTG Trend Portfolio, I have to update that for the year to date. This M1 system that I use does not have year to date performance. They're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls. Very odd that they don't have year-to-date performance. So I'll just have to calculate it manually. But yes, up 40%. How are the indices doing? Right. Let's go over quickly where we're at. This performance is off a little bit. It's a Bloomberg calculation. I noticed. I think that SPY's up 21% for the year. But hey, that's a great year. If you would have said at the beginning of the year, SPY goes up 20%. I think most people would take it. That's really good performance for the year. Remains to be seen what we'll get for the last 4 months of the year. But I think just trade what's in front of you. Have your trades. Plan your trades out. We talked a little bit about this the other day in the trading room about over trading. That's one of the hardest things to do if you're a full-time trader. Watching I watch option flow. I read the tape. I'm looking at a lot of names. You got to have, you got to play like a professional poker player a little bit, right? And they fold all the time. Fold. Meaning, don't take every trade that's out there. Only wait for the fat pitch, right? Wait for the one that goes right down the middle, fastball, right? Don't swing at the crazy sliders that are trailing off the plate, right? That kind of stuff, right? You could wait for your pitch. Maybe something to think about for the last 4 months. Only take the best setups. Mid caps are up 20% for the year. Small caps, as much attention as they've been getting, they're still up 15% for the year. The Qs are up 21%. They're outperforming. Interesting how close the performance is for the averages. Right. So let's just. I just want to double check the. The IWM. Yeah, it's up 15%, 15.4%. So that's surprising because it's been sideways for a number of months, but strong. TLT's down 5% for the year. Gold is down. This is all internationals up 8%. The dollar ETF is up 2%. Where's emerging markets? Emerging markets, big laggard, only up 1%. China, big weight in that. ARK, right? I know people like to talk about like 2 or 3 year performance of ARK, but for this year, down 2%. Big underperformer for the ARK Innovation ETF. As much attention as that fund manager gets, not so good for and it's going to be interesting if that performance carries for the rest of the year. You know, I still see whenever ARK is on TV, they quote long-term performance, but hey, it's been 8 months, down 2%, trailing the S&P by 22% year to date. If you've been in this fund, you are not a happy camper this year. Let's talk about sector performance. Sorry, it just is what it is. If the performance was, up 40%, or around what I'm doing for this year so far, then I would be saying, nice job. But it is what it is. Performance is performance. Performance is the judge. Best performing sectors, retail, XRT. Obviously, a lot of that is driven off of GameStop and AMC, which were both in that ETF. That ETF is up 49%. The blockchain ETF is up 40. So XRT 49%, blockchain 41. Look at the energy stocks. Amazing, up 41%. I like to call this dirty energy when I compare this with the other one, PBW. PBW is down 21%. So XOP is up. The difference between that, sorry, I thought this was calculated, but like 60% difference between going long conventional energy stocks and clean energy stocks, right? The solar ETF is down 17% year to date. What else has performed? The REITs, just went over those, up 27%. Tech is up 22%, right in line with the market. Medical devices up 20%. Software is up 20%. Even pot stocks are up 16% year to date. Right? And then you've got some underperformers in here. Consumer discretion, Tesla and Amazon are big weights in there. But yeah, really startling. KWeb down 33%. What a difference that makes when you introduce regulation, clampdowns on businesses. Businesses suffer. Healthcare up 19% for the year. That is outpacing, I think, biotech. There's biotech up 14% for the year. So anyway, that's your performance year to date. Some surprising names. So again, I'll just say I'll use the word interesting. I think the next 4 months are going to be interesting and maybe a little bit challenging to trade, but I look forward to trading with you. One other last reminder: if you're a TTG member, don't forget to get your contest pick in for the month of September. We do run a trading contest. Right? It's for fun. You pick one stock, buy and hold for the month, and the winner gets a free month of the trading room. Also, growth versus value, pretty much in line with one another. Growth outperforming just a touch, 21% versus 19%. All right, guys, that is it for tonight's video. A little bit longer than usual. Thanks for staying with me for it. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.